For some time now, Extreme Rates have sold a product for PlayStation controllers called Clicky. Now, it's a modification that forces the triggers to have a much shorter pull, even shorter than Pro controllers with hair trigger switches, allowing the trigger to almost become an analog button. It's been on the market since at least 2020, but the product now finally comes to Xbox. In this video, I'll explain what it does, the ups and downs, and where you can get them. But first, please remember to like and subscribe at any point in the video. It helps to get the video seen by the algorithms, and it allows me to keep making such videos. There are two versions of Clicky for the Xbox controller, one for the Xbox One S and X and one for the Xbox Series S and X. So for the Xbox One, it's a model 1708 controller that you can fit this to, and for the Xbox Series X and S, you can fit this to the model 1914 controller. It's a modification that drastically reduces how far you can pull the left and right triggers, or just one of them if you choose to install just one. You're probably used to this kind of feature on the Elite, Razer, Scuf, and other controllers that provide hair trigger functionality. It's designed to make it easier to repeatedly pull a trigger at a faster rate than normal due to the reduced distance until the trigger can go no further. However, Clicky is slightly different. Hair triggers on Pro controllers make it so that the trigger doesn't pull as far as normal. What does not change when you enable hair triggers though is the point at which the button actually registers as activated in a first-person shooter. If you imagine a racing game, triggers are used in full analog. How far you pull them determines how much you accelerate or brake. A light pull equals a light brake or acceleration. Full pull though will equal slamming on the brakes or accelerating really hard. In an FPS game, you often don't have that control, and you don't need that control. The trigger is basically an on-off button. There is a point in its travel where it is considered on, and it doesn't change when enabling a hair trigger. This is because a hair trigger is simply a plastic stopper in the controller that moves into a position to stop the trigger from moving any further. What Clicky does though is add a small plastic attachment underneath the trigger. This attachment has its own button on it that presses against the internal circuit board when you pull the trigger. This forces the trigger to not only have a short pull, but the small button bypasses the standard trigger circuitry. We are in a world where people want faster reactions or faster trigger pulls to pump out single shots faster than an automatic weapon. Personally, for me, it has to come down to faster responses. I can't pull the trigger repeatedly more rapidly with hair triggers, but it does feel like you get a faster response. With Clicky, you have never felt a response like it. If we look at the maximum level hair trigger of an Elite 2 and compare it to a controller with Clicky, you can see the clear difference. Clicky stops the trigger at about 1.5 millimeters of pull. That is absolutely insane compared to the Elite. Your gun will fire almost before you even pull the trigger. It's a faster response than the face buttons themselves. You will not get this response time with any Pro controller on the market right now, but there is a downside or two to this modification. First up is that this is not an easy install by any means. You don't just attach something, you open up the controller and have to solder 4 wires into place as well as screw the part into the triggers. The attachment of the part is easy enough, but soldering requires special equipment and ability. You get the tools you need to take the controller apart and attach the unit, but you have to buy your own soldering equipment and learn how to use it. You really should practice soldering before you attempt to make this modification. Now, the second, more important downside is that you cannot switch this off. Once it's installed, that is it. The functionality is constantly on, not like a Pro controller where you can switch the functionality on and off. You can take the mod out, of course, to disable it, but you don't want to be doing that on a daily basis. If you only play shooters or games where the triggers are a simple on or off switch, then this is absolutely fine. However, once you install this, you can forget about using the controller to play a racing game the very next day. So be mindful of what you want to use your controller for before you take it apart and install this aftermarket modification. So I know you're thinking, where can you get one? Well, you can buy them on Amazon, or you can go to www.gamingcobra.com and use the code TOOTXB to get yourself a nice 10% discount on the product if you want one of these yourself. You can also go to extremerates.com. Now, it will be cheaper on gamingcobra.com even without the discount. The only problem is that it will take slightly longer to get delivered to you than it would take if you went via Amazon. If you do decide to go to Amazon, there are some affiliate links down in the description and the pinned comment, and if you use those affiliate links, that does help the channel. Also, going to gamingcobra.com helps support me and the channel as well, so whichever you choose, thank you very much for helping us out. Now, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, then please remember to hit the like button and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future content. Thank you very much for watching. I'll have some more videos coming your way real soon.